What it is, y'all? It is your old boy Pilk, and I'm back today with more Danmachi. Guys, I know you've been waiting for the video on the heroic trials. Let's go ahead, let's jump in, because I did something a little fun and interesting with this one. It's a team I built last night, and I tested it out a few times, and this team has been functional. By that I mean we destroy this event so long as Ray survives. That's a big so long as. I don't have any dupes in Ray. In fact, I don't know if I actually have any to put into her. I may have a couple that I just have not bothered. No, I don't have any. So she's level 60. So she's going to be the big caveat in this run. If she can survive, we'll be golden. I have nobody that I'm sacking, because normally we do that. But I've realized that a lot of newer players, we're getting more and more newer players in the game, and a lot of you guys don't have the swap anklets and things like that. You just haven't run enough record busters to maybe have those. So can we defeat this? Can we do an S clear with only 4 units? All right. So now to be fair, I do have, I'm using some older units. I'm using Yukina from the Strike the Blood crossover. She's almost a year old at this point, about 8-9 months old. I won't say she's showing her age. She's still a very solid unit. And she has a really good passive skill that's going to help us out in basically surviving this. I am also using Finn here, who is max limit broken. Definitely an older unit. I think he's from the collab, last year or something like that? He's been around. So a much older unit. But, you know, that aside, most of the units here, they've been around for a minute. So they're not like brand new units. They definitely units that have been power crept and have shown their age. Now, I am using Haruhime, the new Haruhime, but that's, I mean, frankly, if you were here for the anniversary, you should use her. You should have her. She should be she should have been, like, the first unit you max limit broke on the anniversaries. So, that is what it is. Now, can you do this without max limit broken units? Absolutely. That's why Ray is right there. Now, it will probably take you a few extra turns that it's going to take me, but very simply put, I want to showcase a team that actually could handle this. Now, as far as assistants go, I've got the much older Chicky Hestia. She's a little over a year old. She's going to be there for the wind damage, or I'm sorry, the wind resistance. I have Soma here, who about a year. I think he was last year's Christmas event. And he's going to do all in single target down 15%, so he's got a good defensive buff there. And wind attack damage plus 15%. So he's going to be a very viable unit of this team. And then, of course, I'm using this Apollo, Apollon. I'm using this Apollo for his physical resistance. Now, most units on here are physical, and I will say this. If you can help it, using AoEs will be nice, but you'll notice I'm using Yukina. She's single target. She's got a really strong single target attack, and I'll show you why we're going to utilize that. Now, the other assist I've got here is this Finn from the anniversary last year, from the 3rd anniversary event. This Finn is very good for SA gauge charging, 33%. If you do not have him, you can use some other units that do SA gauge charging, you know, the new eyes, or even some of the older units. That would be fine. I'm literally just using him. He and that Haruhime, they're just like on every team I build, because they're just that good. If you don't have them, there are other units you can use. If you don't have any assists that do SA gauge charging, just know it'll take you a little bit longer to pull off. Now, let's go ahead and jump in here. Now, we'll talk about which we'll talk about which unit you should probably acquire later on down the road. But first, I want to go through this and kind of show you the meat and potatoes, so to speak, of what we're going to be doing here. Now, first things first, obviously Haruhime is going to do the 33% SAH charge. Ray has that too, but she's got an HP regen associated with it, though I don't think we're going to need that right out of the gate, so I'm probably not even going to use this. The Dex buff and the magic buff might be nice, but the HP regen is about the best thing on there. Though I'm going to just go ahead and use her skill 1. That's the strength of magic down 40%. I am aware Yukina does that with her counter, but in the event she doesn't counter on this turn, I definitely want to make sure that that Ray is doing her thing. Okay. Finn and Ray are both just going to come out of the gate with their skill 1 AoE attacks, and then, you know, just general buff stack from that. And you'll notice that we're not really taking any damage here. Ray's taken a bit, but it's not, you know, end of the world stuff. And on turn 1, once again, because of all the debuffing and everything we've done there, we didn't really take a lot of damage. Now, turn 2 is where we might start hurting if we're not cautious, because they're going to start buffing pretty hard, okay? So you notice here that we've got a lot of debuffs on here, and Asfi is actually going to start buffing pretty respectably. Asfi is going to be my #1 threat, and I do want to get rid of her. Now, as far as resistances go, let's go ahead and jump in here. It does show physical and magic are, I know physical says it's down 25. Remember, I debuffed 25. So for Asfi, physical and magic are neutral. Wind is really her only resistance. We've debuffed that all the way down to 75%. Let's see. So wind resistance down 40 and wind resistance down 15. So it's 35. So she would naturally be down, what, 40% there. So it's not bad. So she is naturally deficient to wind, which is why I would recommend using wind. Now, I'll say this. If you got a good fire team, if you got a good water, especially if you've got the water team that I show off every time, that team will laugh at this. So a good fire team, good water team, even maybe a good dark team probably would, if you have those teams pre-built and you're using those for like 7th zone or whatever, those teams would crush this. Those teams will laugh at this. But, you know, I like to come in here and try to, you know, try new things and, you know, kind of stretch the possibilities, so to speak. So I can't lose a single person on this team. That's my big challenge. And Ray's level 60, which might make that a bit hard. So let's see. All right. Lulune. Lulune is also deficient 40% to wind, just like before. Literally the same resistances. So they're kind of where they're at. Now, after turn 2, they should have some buffs, so we're going to take a look at that once again. Notice everything on them right now is a debuff, and if you're not familiar with how the icons work, if you're not playing with icons, I know it kind of clutters the screen a little bit, but you probably do need to learn to play with icons because it is going to teach you so much. I can tell you right now, Strength and Magic are both debuffed. The Wind Resistance is debuffed, and they have one other debuff. Let's see, what is that? That is the... You know what? I actually don't know. Wind Resistance. What is that other debuff? Let's take a look here. Ah, all unit resistance. See, I should have known that. See, even I'm a little sketchy with some of those sometimes. But Strength, Magic, and Wind were the three, because the numbers are fairly important as well, that were pretty obvious there. So, let's go ahead and jump in. Okay? Now, with Haruhime, I'm going to go ahead and do her skill 1. That is actually going to give us a few really nice pieces of information here. We're going to get critical rate, penetration rate, and counter rate. That counter rate is going to be massively important to the late game. With Ray, I'm going to go ahead and do her skill 2 here. Okay? And that's going to do allies status buff plus 2 turns. It's going to be very, very helpful. And we're going to do skill 2 with both Finn and Yukina. And that is because... well, that's their next big AoE attack, and continues to buff, debuff, stack. So now we're actually at the state we're taking damage. You will notice that Ray took a ton of damage there, and that's where we got to start being careful. Now, we haven't hit a state where we need Ray's HP regen yet. If we do, we can now utilize it. We won't be at any deficit, but honestly, you'll see why she's here in just a moment. She's going to have a really, really, really important role in this here in about 2, maybe? Yeah, I want to say about 2 turns. Okay, so let's see. We do have some buffs, so let's see if we can kind of gather what these are. So remember, those red down carrots are debuffs. The blue up carrots are buffs, so they do have a magic buff. I can't tell what else that is. It's too small. So if we go down here, so they have a guard rate buff. They have a 1 unit resistance buff. 1 unit resistance buff is going to hurt us, but we'll kind of explain why it's not a huge deal. An AoE buff, once again, that is kind of hurting us, but it's not a huge deal. A magic buff and an earth attribute damage buff. So they're going to try to hurt us really, really, really hard after this turn. Now, you can use somebody that utilizes or that will remove those buffs. For me, I'm literally just going to kind of fight my way uphill through it. So with Haruhime, I'm going to do skill 3. I'm going to go ahead and do, let's see, yeah. We'll go ahead and do skill 2 with Ray, and I'm going to start targeting Asfi because you'll notice that I'm going to keep doing the AoE attack, here with Finn. And Finn will do a physical resist, magic resist, water, thunder, blah, 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 blah. Resist down 3 turns. So in other words, they don't really have any resistances that they're going to buff like that, but it's a super wind physical attack, so it's just going to be his best attack. Yukina, on the other hand, has a really good single target attack here. Physical attack damage plus 35% per each strength buff and with Ultra and Guard Rate. So she's got really good strength buff both on herself and on the assist. So she's going to hit pretty respectably with that skill. So I actually want to utilize that. Remember, I'm sorry. That was Finn's. Finn's was 35%. My apologies. I thought hers was higher than that. Hers is 80% per each target's physical resistance. I was reading that going, that doesn't sound right, but I'm just going to go with it. No, I was right in the first place. It is 80% per each target's physical resistance debuff. So, it's like, okay, sometimes I just go with things because it's like one of those, like, I don't remember it being that, but I could be wrong. In this case, I was not wrong. So, physical resistance debuff. So, I have a physical resistance debuff here, physical resistance debuff here. So, her 80% becomes a 160% hit. That is going to crush, absolutely clobber Asfi, because we are going to target Asfi, and Asfi arguably is our bigger threat because of what she does. So, we're going to get rid of Asfi first. Everybody else is just going to do the regular skills. Yukina's going to be the really unique situation here. Now, once again, I do need to keep a very good eye on Rei, because Rei could start taking some wild damage if we're not very careful. So I need to keep an eye on her, make sure I don't need her HP regen. Now, look at Lulune versus Asfi. Asfi is starting to fall apart at the seams. So we're literally just going to... actually, it's turn 4, so I will need to rebuff Dawnwind. The reason I need to rebuff that is because that's going to keep our status buff going. Actually, let's see... yeah, I actually won't need that, but... yeah. I actually don't need to do it. Because of Rei, I don't need to do it. So I can just keep doing literally this until the end. I don't need to do much of anything else. Now, Finn does get... no, he doesn't get an extra attack. Yukina does, but because her single target is going to be so strong, I'm not going to bother. I'm not even going to bother buffing the extra attacks. I'm literally just going to soldier on with this. Now... we are going to work up to a double SA. This double SA is not a damage SA. I'll kind of show you why, and it'll make a ton of sense when we do it. Okay? Come on, we need one more. Ah! Alright, that's fine. It'll be a turn 6 double SA. That's fine. Alright, so we're going to go back in here. We're going to go ahead and do that, that... and that, and that. So literally I'm just going to keep basically like spamming those same attacks over and over and over again. Because as you'll see here, after we do this double SA, it is going to clobber, absolutely destroy this team. So we're going to do a double SA with those two. We're going to do that, and we're going to do that. Let's go. And what we're going to do here, Haruhime is going to give everybody 120% strength and magic. Rei is going to give everybody 100% wind attack damage. And we're good to go. There is another unit that does give wind attack damage that might be slightly better. But because Rei's is for 4 turns, it's the one I've chosen to go with. So that by the end of this turn, we have everything in line. I don't have to worry about replication. And I can do it as a double SA. So, let's go back in here one more time. Do all of this. I don't need to rebuff anything else. Yukina is going to get that, and this will probably be the last turn for Asfi. In fact, she's already gone. So we'll have maybe 1, tops 2 more turns with Lulune, but she should be gone really soon too. In fact, I'm going to do an essay with... what am I going to do an essay with? I feel like the single target from her is going to be better. Let's see. That's a foe singular, 80% per each self-strength. Yeah, it's an ultra attack, though. So, yeah, we'll do an essay with her, and everyone else will just kind of do their thing. Boom! 1.4 mil. Which means she just fell. So there you go. Turn 8 kill. Now, once again, I do want to say Finn and Yukina are max limit broken and max ascended. If you don't have units that are max ascended, max limit broken, you could definitely expect that to take in like an extra turn or two, but you still are going to be fully capable of handling this. Especially considering my Ray is at a massive disadvantage here. And I did this with 4 units. If you could swap units out, you could do this with 6. You can get faster SAs, things like that. You could easily do this just like I did within, if not 8 turns, 9 turns, 10 turns, whatever. I feel like most people with a respectable team should be able to do this fairly quickly. And I do want to emphasize, if I used my water team, they would have absolutely crushed this event. They would have laughed at it. Now, from this point on, I could just use skip tickets. I got the S clear. I'm golden. I ain't got to worry about it. And then I can have this done in no time whatsoever. Remember, was it like, I think all 15 skip tickets will actually like do the whole thing. I forget what the actual number is. I think last time we used 10, and then the other 5 was like overkill. So if you're only getting your 5 skip tickets a day, 3 days in a row, you got this. No problem, no questions asked. Now, should you get Lulune or Asfi? I'm rather partial to Lulune, but I'm going to be honest here. I don't necessarily recollect offhand what each one does. So let's go ahead and take a fair look at each. Okay? I'll start with Asfi because she is right here. Now, Asfi is really, really, really good for Wargame, and I still see her in quite a few teams. Why? Fast. Damage received, attack type, all targets down 35%. So that's that AoE damage debuff that she does that basically like drew out our turns. Now, in our fight, I didn't bother removing that. There are ways you can remove that. I didn't bother doing it. Self, 3 additional actions, 30% HP heal and guard rate plus 20% for all allies for 2 turns. If you rebuff this, it makes the healing on all your units nuts. So she's really awesome for Wargame. She is absolutely phenomenal for Wargame, and you'll probably see her quite a bit, once again, after this event. Skill 2 is a foe's super Earth magic attack with temporary magic boost to high penetration rate and ally status buff down 2 turns. So when this turn comes in, she does a super class AoE attack, and she'll extend your debuffs. So she's a very, very, very useful asset in Wargames. But if you're not a Wargame main, you probably want to focus on Lulune. Let's go talk about what Lulune does. Let's go down here. I don't remember where she's at in this list. She's probably further down here. Nope, she would have to be above that. Where is Lulune? There she is. She was under my thumb. Okay. So, Lulune. High Earth magic attack with Ultra and counter rate. Self 2 actions, low Earth magic attack. So, very nice AoE skill there. Just a general attacking unit. Nothing out of the ordinary, too terribly special. This one is a fast mid-Earth magic attack with temporary magic boost. Self, magic, and Earth attack damage plus 60%. So she's just general good AoE attacking Earth unit. If you want my honest opinion, if all you need is just a general Earth unit to bolster your Earth team, she's very good. Now, if you want to go crazy, and if you already have Asfi, both these units are not time limited, so even if you get the bond and you don't have the unit, you will get the unit eventually, most likely, if you stay up to date with all your summon tickets. The odds are pretty good you'll eventually run across one of them. Asfi is extremely, and I mean extremely specific to Wargame. This unit's just a general damage unit. She's not, crazy or outstanding. She's just a very respectable damage unit. So if you have to choose between them, I like Asfi for Wargame, and I really want to bolster my Asfi for Wargame, but she is aging, and she might get power crept before too terribly long. So do heavily consider that. That said, if you are not a Wargame main, or if you're not going for like Jester or even Hero ranks, I wouldn't bother with Asfi. I would get Lulune. Remember, these are only bonds, though. If you have one unit and not the other, you probably want to focus on that unit beforehand, because if you pick up the bond, you will absolutely not automatically get the unit. You'll have a bond that you can't use. You could sell, and that is the one and only way you can actually farm Dolb in this game, is if you farm up this bond and you sell it. Let's go ahead and talk about that real quick, because it's been a few months since I've actually talked about that. If we go here into inventory, we go to bonds, and I go down here to my 4 stars. I've got a few 4 stars I actually know I'm selling. So if I go here to sell this Leafia, normally you'll get some of the white gems here for Sirios. But if I add this up here, I'm going to get 10 extra Dolb. Dolb is really good because you can buy Prism Bonds with it. You can buy Hero Lights with it. There's a number of things you can do. So this is the only way you can actually farm Dolb in the game. If you have 10 Dolb, if you need it for Hero Lights or whatever, not a bad investment. And I don't think either one of these 2 units are so groundbreaking, aside from Asfi and Wargame, that if you sell your Dolb, you'll be at a disadvantage. Lulune is great. I used to use her a lot, but I really kind of feel like the Earth team is about to get another major boost here in the next few months, probably at least before the next anniversary. And you probably won't use Lulune nearly as much. But if you need to bolster it now, she's a good option. Asfi, if you want her for Wargame, I'm not mad at you, and that's exactly what I'm going to do as well. But if you don't have either unit and you want to know what to do with this and why to farm it up, you can go ahead and grab your 10 Dolb. Go in here to the shops, go to the Sirius and Dolb exchange, and you can actually buy Hero Lights with your Dolb. So, in fact, if you don't, it's 3 Hero Lights for literally that bond you could have farmed up. So, there you go, guys. If you need a recommendation, that would be my one. But that is one of the many things you can choose to do here. So, if you're going to ask me Lulune over Asfi, go with whichever unit you have. If you don't have either one, that actually might not be a bad investment. But for now, that's going to be the video. Like, comment, share all the good stuff, and I'll be back with more Danmachi for you guys really soon.